listeners. My name is Charles Scott, and here we are again. And the name of the program is called Can We Talk? Every week we give you some information that can help you with your real estate needs, your buying or selling, or information about the economy. There's a lot of changes that are going on.
A lot of changes. I'm here with Charles Scott Jr. You got to introduce me.
Well, we're getting to you.
Yes, a lot of things are going on as we enter, upcoming, changes in the market, and what we're seeing a lot of, different structures being changed into apartment buildings, right? That's what we're seeing now.
And I think that's going to be the trend.
Definitely.
A lot of people, because of the interest rates going up a little bit, and because of investors also. Investors, investors can sort of turn on a dime. When investors foresee something happening within the economy, the investors are the first ones to sort of make different changes, look at their finances, figure out how they can make a profit, and basically they are changing to apartments.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, people always ask, how could the economy be doing bad when the stock market's doing good? What the stock market is, someone explained to me years ago, is what's going to be happening in the future. They're always one step ahead. So although the economy may be going down, the stock market may be doing great. Or you may see sometimes when the economy is doing great and the stock market is actually going real down into the dumps. So they're always one step ahead. So as you can see, they're getting into apartments right now.
And like you said about the stock market, the stock market, I often said that when there's like high unemployment or when prices are actually low, the investors look at different things than the average person looks at.
Yes.
The investors look at what? Profits. How are they going to make a profit? When the employees' wages are down, stock market goes up because the stock market and the investors figure, well, we can get goods made and it'll cost us less money.
Exactly.
And we can make a higher profit. When the wages go higher, the stock market goes down because now the investors that manufacture goods figure, well, it's going to cost us more money.
And also that money that's going to the employees aren't going to the stockholders, because what you'll see is what companies do is they'll buy back the stock. And at that point, it makes the stock even more valuable.
Exactly. They'll buy back their own stock.
Exactly.
I was listening this morning, and it was talking about how unions are really coming back strong because what's happening is that there's not a lot of jobs out there. So when you don't have a lot of jobs that are for people that want those particular jobs, I mean, there's a lot of signs out there saying help needed, help needed.
Yes.
But employees now are more particular. Employees now are letting jobs go that they normally would take. So that means that these jobs are still out there.
What it is, not to interrupt you, but I'm being told by a lot of business owners, what it is now this is a different era. We have what we call the gig economy. So people may get frustrated if a job back, let's say the 90s, early 2000s, hey, it's the only job they can find. They're going to stay there and be miserable. But now, especially the younger generation, they don't like the job. They'll quit and get in their car and download Uber. Now they have a new job instantly. They're a taxi driver.
Right. People are changing from one job to the other, and they're not just settling for any job.
Exactly.
Now, that's where the unions come in. The unions make out because the unions have people that are making more money. The average American right now is making more money on their job, so the unions are able to come in and sort of organize and get more money for people, whereas before, the job and the economy, they weren't getting that much money. So people say, why join the union when I'm only going to make so much money? So now what you see is a different change occurring out there. And I think that this is going to continue for a while until some of these jobs are fulfilled. Like you talk about the gig economy. We talked about, last couple of segments, we talked about some of the things that people can do to make money.
Exactly.
That if they can't find a job, start your own little business. Whether it's a lawn care business, snow removal business, carpet, shampoo, whatever it may be. That's called I don't know how that word gig got in there.
Well, they call it gig because when you look at the apps, like for example, like the Fiverr one, they're called gigs because they're temporary jobs. They're point A, point B, basically after every job is done, you're unemployed again.
Yeah,
you
you
better
know.
hope you get another order or another taxi drive.
That's true. Maybe I date myself, but I remember back in the years, people used to say, I got to go out and get myself a gig.
Now it's the gig economy, a whole
Gig meant
economy.
job. But now the gig doesn't mean a job.
It means
Gig
a temporary job.
and it means me becoming an independent contractor.
Exactly.
I create my own gig. So this is one of the things that's happening out there in the economy today, and we see some of these trends that are going in that direction.
Yes.
And like you said, the investors look long term. They look down the road.
Exactly. Like, for example, I'll say in certain cities we're seeing more automation. I'm going to say over the next decade, you're going to see a lot of, let's say, fast food restaurants, even mainstream restaurants. You might not have a waitress. You might have just a tablet at the table. You order the food, the chef makes it. If the chef's a human, it could be I've seen the burger flipping robot. It's getting more popular now. We're going to see a lot of these jobs disappear because automation is going to replace the actual people that are working.
Well, you know what? You're 100% right. And with every upturn comes a downturn. There's
Yes.
everything balances itself out because if the cost of the jobs gets so expensive that the employer feels as though I got to figure a way of reducing my cost.
Yes.
And that way you go to automation.
Automation.
I mean, there's a shortage of truck drivers when they say, right now they're hiring like crazy trying to get truck
Yes.
drivers out there. But I see where certain companies, they're testing the waters with automated,
Driverless trucks.
Even, what is it, Tesla and these companies?
Yeah, they're getting into that.
Driverless trucks. Even, I saw where,
What's that?
what was it? I forget the name of the pizza company.
Domino's.
They got the little robots that go up and down the street.
Yeah, delivering the pizza.
Delivering the pizza.
In certain areas, it's already existing where it's just driverless cars. They just have to get the technology to a little tweak it better, that's all.
But I think sooner or later, all of this is going to happen. And
Yes.
look at now, even when in certain areas, they're testing, they have the drones. With the drones, Amazon, these big companies have drones.
Deliver right to your door,
They'll
literally.
deliver, put the package down there and take off and go right back up in the air and off to the next package. So, we used to, when I was younger, we used to look at those things and think that there was like far off, like man going to the moon or stuff like that. Space adventures that it would never happen. They used to draw cartoons and have like Dick Tracy was one of my favorite cartoons back in the day.
Hey, the smartwatch.
And Dick Tracy always had the watch that he could talk into. And
That's the reality.
That was like so neat. Now, last week, I don't know where we were, but we were somewhere, and the guy was talking into his watch. And,
Yep.
and not only that, can you talk into the watch? It does everything a regular computer. You can figure this, go on the internet, get your email, do everything just by looking on your arm and talking into the watch. If years ago you went around talking to your watch, people think you were crazy.
Put you in the asylum.
There's this guy going around talking to
Very
his wrist. I remember back in the day, and this is like 10 years ago, they had the phones that you could talk into. It was like walkie-talkies.
Yes, I remember those.
And that was a big thing back then, Everybody was showing off. You're in line and you're talking to somebody and they're talking back to you like it's a walkie-talkie cell phone.
I remember those. Now, the thing is, those were big because back in the day, people had minutes on their phone. People had a certain amount of minutes they could use. So with those walkie-talkie phones, you could then overlap the minutes. You wouldn't have to use your own minutes. To just say hi to somebody, meet me here, meet me there. This is also before texting got real big. But now you see today, what do we have? We have WhatsApp. We have all these other apps where people can communicate all over the world. And the phone companies had to adapt. Now people have data plans. They don't have minute plans.
And I used to wonder about that. I used to say, why are people texting so much? I ain't got time to text. And everybody was texting. And then it was explained to me that they can't afford all of the minutes. And they had free texting. So with the free texting, I used to say, the thumbs are just constantly going. It's like, hello, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. How are you? Back and forth, text. I said, this is insane. Why not just pick up the phone and talk to the person? You say, oh, no, it costs me money. It took me a long time to understand that.
In this day and age, you'll see everything's done through text and email. We got transactions people talk to us only through text. Pick the phone up.
That's it. And especially, WhatsApp?
Yeah, WhatsApp. That's a very popular one.
And then, like a lot of the places, like a lot of the check cashing places back in the day, they used to have to go in there and send money and get those phone cards. I remember years ago, you take a vacation,
Phone card.
you buy up a lot of phone cards. You stack up on the phone cards, and you go over
Some
to
of
the
our
telephone.
viewers may not know what a phone card was basically.
How about that?
I gotta explain. Hey, what's a phone card? A phone card is basically a prepaid card you would buy when you're going through international waters or state to state. You may not want to use your main phone, or you may not even own a cell phone. You take that card, you go to a phone, you enter it. It gives you a certain amount of time to talk.
Right. Now, if you had a phone card, first of all, you don't have a phone to go to.
Yeah, no pay phones, right?
No pay phones. And so you don't really need the phone card. But I remember you had to insert like almost 20 numbers before you get a person.
Oh yeah, definitely.
20, you get it
I
wrong,
remember
and then
those.
they got to make you give it all over again, back and forth. So the technology, what we're saying though is that there's an unbelievable amount of technology that's going to be taking place. Some of it's
Exactly.
taking place right now.
Right
A
as we
lot of
speak.
it is being experimented on, right?
Oh yeah, definitely developed.
So expect change, and you have to embrace change. If you fight the change, you get caught up in it, and you become like isolated out on an island.
Exactly. Like we explained to like some of our older customers, a lot of these mortgage companies do everything paperless. You have to upload your pay stubs. You have to upload your proof of income, your tax returns. What if they don't own an email? So before you start buying a house, make sure you have an email and a computer, or at least a cell phone.
That's it.
Yes.
So also today, I want to touch on some of the trends in buying. Where are we headed? What type of market are we headed towards? And
Yes.
some of we were just discussing how hard it is for people to let go of things that have happened in the past, and to let go of their buying, I say, strategy.
Exactly, because we'll say, like for example, people were used to low interest rates the past decade. I mean, interest rates aren't super high as they were back in the 80s in the double digits, but we're approaching that. We're approaching 7 to 8% interest rates at this moment, and people have to get used to. That's a different type of market.
And when you go to get pre-qualified for a mortgage, maybe you were in the market 2 years ago. You decided to sit it out because of COVID or whatever it may be. What we find, is happening right now is a lot of the people that sat it out during the COVID are coming back into the marketplace. So that may be one of you out there. You may be
Yes.
thinking, well, I think I'm going to go out and buy a house. I'm thinking about, well, I tried before. I'm going to revisit it now, and I'm going to come back in and start looking for a house. And why is that? Normally, it's because your rent just went up.
Very true.
You
You say the first of the month.
first of the month. I'm going to throw out some things, and if it hits a nerve, this is what's going on out here.
This is very important.
People call me. I say, Scott, I want to buy a house. I was talking to so-and-so, they referred me to you. And one of the questions I ask is, what's going on in your life? Why are you deciding to buy a house now? Where are you living? How long have you been on your job? But the most important thing I want to know is, what's changed? What made you want to buy a house? And a lot of times that they'll say, well, someone bought the house.
The new landlord.
I got a new landlord. And what are they doing?
Raising the rent.
Landlords raising the rent. So many of the audience, people that are listening out here, how many times has that happened? If you are renting out there,
Yes.
where the new landlord comes in and he's now raising the rent. And so you're thinking, well, I was paying $1,100. Now he wants $1,500.
And we've seen that in some cases.
So you're saying, well, I might as well look into buying a house. So that's one reason. The other reason, the landlord wants his family to move into
We see that a lot also.
my apartment. Because maybe the landlord's got family out there, and maybe the daughter graduated from college, or the son, or maybe someone where they were renting, they moved out of the house and now they want to move back in.
Very true.
So now the landlord wants to put them in one of the 2 or 3 family apartments that he has. So now he's asking you to move. Then one of the situations may be, well, the landlord doesn't fix anything. This is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong. We've been after the landlord to do this or that, and so therefore we want to move. We may get that sometimes with the person who's got Section 8.
Oh yeah, and they want to approve this unit.
And Section 8 requires an inspection every year.
Yes.
Every year they send the inspector out to check to make sure that the building is up to housing code, that everything inside is working properly. And not every time does it pass. So if the apartment doesn't pass, then Section 8 will say you should find another apartment. Because one of the things that will happen is the landlord will ask you to move also if he doesn't fix anything, because they will cut off the rent.
Exactly. They'll hold the money. They'll say, hey, your landlord won't comply with our rules, and he's not going to get paid out this month. So I put pressure on the landlord to get you out there even quicker.
Exactly. So you have a lot of reasons why people are moving and wanting to buy their own home. Now, this is one of the things that we're running into also. 2-3 years ago, people were qualified and the interest rate might have been 3%.
3%.
And the cost of the house might be half of what it is right now.
Very true.
So now when you come out into the marketplace and you're looking to buy that same house, interest rate's up and then the cost of the house is up.
Exactly.
So maybe you didn't qualify for as much as you qualified before. Maybe you had started the process. Maybe you qualified for $250,000. And now you come back into the program, maybe you only qualify for 200 because
200 even.
or whatever it may be. This is going to put pressure on you because now the cost of the house is $350.
Exactly.
So everything is going upside down. The cost of the house is going up, the interest rate's going up, your buying power is going down, and so therefore you're caught in the middle.
Yes.
So what do a lot of the people want? What are the preferences out there? There's a single family, there's a condo, there's a co-op condo, a single family, and a multifamily. People get it in their mind, I'm going to buy a two-family.
Oh, yes, that's the number one.
Explain to them the hurdles in buying a
Now,
two-family.
when you go to buy a two-family house, you may say, okay, think it's an easy process. The tenant's going to pay my mortgage. You see on these YouTube videos, oh, it's easy. You buy a two-family house, you move in downstairs, the person upstairs pays the rent. But what you must realize is a lot of these two families are sought after. If you want one that bad, imagine everyone else when it comes to the investors and everything else. Now, when you get a two-family house, you must remember also that some of these two families may not be in a certain condition. Let's say, for example, you have an FHA mortgage. FHA, everything has to be in tip-top condition. As far as chip paint can't be there, furnace must be working. I was in a two-family the other day where the furnace was taken apart downstairs. Wouldn't pass FHA at all. But when it comes to two families, you must remember, it's not as easy as they say. When it comes to two families, you must have a strategy ready to execute that strategy, I would say.
Exactly. And sometimes people want a three-family.
Oh, three-family. I didn't get into that.
There's a big difference between buying a two-family and a three-family. A big difference because number one, the more units you purchase, the more risk involved.
Exactly.
And the more the bank is going to require of you because they're saying if something goes wrong and you get a tenant that doesn't pay you, that's bad. If you get two that don't pay you, that's terrible.
Exactly.
So they want you to be prepared to be able to make that mortgage in case you get a tenant and the tenant's not making those payments. So they want you to have reserves. They want you to have some cash saved up. You're looking at it the opposite way. I'm buying the 2 or the 3 because they're going to help me pay the rent. The bank's looking at it the other way. What if they don't pay?
That's a big risk.
You're in deep trouble.
Exactly.
So in order for that not to happen, the bank wants you to come up with more money down, more money in your savings, and they want you to be more experienced into what you're doing.
Exactly. People think that being a landlord is simple, but remember, you're going to be responsible for both those units. You got to make sure that they're in working order, and you have to be able. You got to be like a people person. People say you can't just buy a two-family house. Let's say there's already existing tenants in there. You can't just knock on the door and say, I'm increasing the rent tomorrow. You have to see what the existing lease is. What if they have a lease that's over a year or less than a year? You have to make sure your strategy is there before you execute it.
Again, my name is Charles Scott Sr. This is Charles Scott Jr.
Yes.
And we are brokers for Tri-State Realty. We're the owners and the brokers of Tri-State Realty. And we service Connecticut, so we're giving you some perspective of what it's like to buy property in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and where the economy is sort of headed, so you can plan your own
Next move.
purchase or whatever it be, whether it's real estate, whether it's the economy. We're giving you some advice so that you can be able to see ahead. As my son just said, investors, they look long term.
Very long
They
term.
don't look short term. They, a lot of successful businesses out there, they started out with losing money, and they plan to
Exactly.
lose money. They plan to lose money 5 years and before they start making a profit.
Very
However, their stocks were expensive and soaring. Why? Because people were saying, well, they're planning ahead. They may be losing money now, but they're going to make a tremendous amount of
In the
money
future.
in the future. So their stocks become very valuable.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things that, individuals, they can't really survive that way. They can't go out there
Yes.
losing money right away
Very true.
and plan to make money in the future. I'm not saying do that. But what I'm saying is that you have to be able to plan for the economy that's at hand right now. And, what is it? You got to work with the cards that you're dealt.
Exactly, because one thing we saw, someone did this strategy a few months ago. Mother and a son bought a two-family house, and they were lucky to find one that was empty. So the son lives on the second floor, mother lives on the first floor, but they used both of their incomes together in order to afford that property.
And one of the things you got to realize is that a lot of times people want to switch up. They say, I don't. I said, what type of property are you looking for?
Yep.
They go, oh, one, maybe a two. And I'm like, well, there's a big difference.
Big difference.
I said, the two is going to cost you a lot more money than a one. Sometimes people, it amazes me, are surprised that a two-family house costs more than a one-family house. And I'm like, look,
It's income generating.
it's like this. You're buying two single-family houses and putting them together.
Exactly.
In other words, you're not getting two for one. You're getting two for the price of twice what the single.
Exactly. Very true.
So when you're buying a two-family house, if you're buying a single-family house and it costs you $200,000, you're buying a two-family, you gotta pay more.
400 up.
350, 400,000.
350, yeah.
So therefore, even though you have that tenant coming in helping you pay the rent, you pay the mortgage, your mortgage is twice as much. So if you lose money and the tenant doesn't pay you, or if there's a lot of repairs, you got problems.
Exactly.
The other thing is, maybe explain to them, a lot of people come in, they want to buy first property. I want a government house.
Oh, yeah.
I want needs a lot of work. That's okay. I'm handy.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of calls. People say, okay, what foreclosures do you have? If you would look at the news in the past few years, we didn't have any foreclosures the past couple of years due to the moratorium. As we approach 2023, we think we'll be having an increase. But the thing is, when it comes to a foreclosure, and you have, let's say, an FHA mortgage, remember, like I said before a few months ago, FHA mortgage is going to want all the no chip paint, no missing railings, no water in the basement. A lot of these bank-owned properties are bank-owned for a reason. They're either foreclosed on, or either the person stopped paying taxes, the city got the property back. They may be in what they call disrepair, where it needs someone handy to go in there that has a team that can say, okay, we can restore this. And what you see with those deals, they do it for a lot of cash. Because when a bank looks at that, they may say, okay, that's a risk. The house is basically falling apart. So what you'll see is hard money. That's what we're seeing a lot. Hard money lenders, which is when people put down 10 to 13%, and then they get basically the whole, what they call mortgage funded by what we call hard money dealer.
And the more you put down, the better. Some of them
Exactly.
ask you 20, 30%.
20 for 30%, very true.
They
But-
may- go ahead.
Not to interrupt you, but when it comes to real estate owned properties, you have to basically be very experienced in what you're getting into. Because remember, the house may be winterized, all the water's out the pipes. When you put the water in, you may see water coming out all the walls. You say, well, what happened there? You can't have it inspected. It's a bank-owned property. You're buying it as is, where is, they say. So when it comes to bank-owned properties, do your due diligence.
Where is, as is.
Yes, we see that a lot.
Means what it says. Where is, the house isn't going anywhere. You see it, what you see is what you get.
As is.
As is. That means you can have an inspection if you want to, but you cannot have an inspection and come back and ask them to fix things that you find wrong.
Nope, for informational purposes only.
Right. You're having, because you'll see a lot of contracts that say sold as is, and we're having an inspection. So we have to remind them. What that means is it's sold as is. You're having your inspection just to let you know how much money you got to put into it.
Exactly.
Not to negotiate a lower price.
Very true.
So therefore, as is as is. You're buying what you see. So you got to be aware of that. Now, one of the big things too that we see is some people started out years ago and they got a conventional mortgage.
Yes, yes.
Now we see them coming back into the market with an FHA. Maybe explain a little, what's
Yes.
the difference?
Now, with FHA mortgage, like I was saying before, that is a government-backed loan. So basically, the bank has more security with that loan, and they're able to give you more buying power. And people may say, oh, great, more buying power, give me FHA every time. But when you have an FHA loan, it does, I would say, not put you at a disadvantage, but when you go up against someone who has a conventional mortgage and they're bidding on the same property as you, the homeowner may be steered towards the conventional, because with the conventional, the bank won't be as, I'll say, nitpicky with the repairs as far as the chip paint, missing railings. Let's say, okay, when you move in, you'll fix that. But for FHA, those have to be repaired before you even get financed or a commitment for the loan. And the homeowner, as we've seen in the past couple of years, may say, I'm not fixing anything. You're going to buy the house where it is as is. So we have FHA mortgage. Just make sure you know, and you're working for an experienced realtor who knows what properties to show you that will pass FHA.
And like you just said, the difference mainly is that when you go to sit down with a mortgage person, if they give you an FHA mortgage, it's because they're trying to increase your buying power.
Yes.
And we're seeing more and more FHA mortgages coming about now because the cost of the homes have gone up.
Very.
So now when you go back to that lender, he's trying to give you more. People always say, can I get more? Can I get more? Can I get more? But if you're a first-time home buyer and you're getting more, that lender wants to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yes.
So therefore, they're not going to let you buy a rehab. They're not going to let you buy a house that needs work. They're not going to give you money. And also, you're saying to the lender, I don't have a lot of money. Give me all the programs that you can to assist
Yes.
me. So if you don't have a lot of money and you're buying a fixer-upper, how are you going to fix it up? What if the furnace conks out the first month?
Exactly.
What if this goes wrong? What if
Pipe
that
burst,
goes wrong?
anything.
So therefore, just be aware as to your mortgage. Is it a conventional or is it an FHA? And try to get a conventional if you possibly can. But the main thing is this: save as much money as you possibly
Yes.
can in the meantime. And do your homework, do your research.
And like I said, work with a realtor who knows these programs and can navigate these real estate waters, as we say.
So hopefully today we've both been able to
Oh, yeah.
give you some good information out there.
And we'll continue this. Remember to tune in next week and subscribe.
Next week, and subscribe and continue to look at our series. Go on YouTube. Till next week, God bless.
Amen.